Tonight, the big three on life support. Stunning new figures show just how bad 2008 was. But their pain could translate into opportunity for customers. I'm Jeff Glore. Also tonight, President-elect Barack Obama's top priority, fixing the economy. He moves to Washington to start focusing on just that. But will the Senate be too wrapped up in the battle over his replacement? Free medicine. A supermarket chain looks to bring in customers by giving away antibiotics. And Assignment America, the story of Tara and Bella, as different as they come, but close as they can be.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
And good evening. Katie's off tonight. For months, the U.S. auto industry has been stuck in reverse, with companies bleeding cash. Today, a new Bloomberg survey spelled out in jaw-dropping detail just how bad 2008 was for the big three. Chrysler sales down 48% from 2007, GM down 41%, and Ford 33%. To dig themselves out, the car companies are now offering major incentives in what's become the ultimate buyer's market. Here's Mark Strassman.
It's $8,000 in rebates.
At this Atlanta Chevrolet dealer, car salesmen work the phones like frantic suitors, courting customers with unprecedented deals.
This is the perfect time to close that sale. Yes, sir.
Trey Oglesby is drawn to this week's bundle of incentives on a 2008 Tahoe.
You can crank it up from 200 feet away, right?
Its sticker price, $51,000. The deal, $14,000 off.
You really do feel in the driver's seat.
Oh, correct. Yeah. I mean, especially considering the current economic times.
These incentives are mostly about rebuilding confidence, giving customers a sense they can get credit, GM is not going away, and this economy is going to be all right.
The big three need big help. According to analysts, December was their worst sales month in a decade. They sold about 10 million cars and light trucks, a 39% plunge year to year. For the first time ever, Detroit now probably owns less than half the American car market.
Well-qualified buyers get 4.9% APR on any 09 Malibu.
But even with deals on 09s and steals on 08s,
Figured $11,000 off the sticker.
car dealers face more rough road.
It's a tricky business trying to lure people in right now because a lot of the economic issues are outside of the control of the car companies.
GMAC, the financing arm of General Motors, just lowered its minimum credit score to qualify more customers. From 700, America's top 25% of consumers, to 621.
And that basically pulls in another 30–40% of the population that now you can look at it possibly offering a loan to. Yeah, it's huge.
But big enough not to Trey Oglesby. The Tahoe's a bargain, but he'll keep shopping. Another no sale in an industry desperate to close the deal. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Atlanta.
On the subject of deals, IndyMac found a buyer today. Federal regulators say a group of investors will pay nearly $14 billion for the bank, which failed in July. The FDIC has been running it ever since. Meanwhile, Wall Street started the new year with a rally. The Dow gained more than 250 points to close above 9,000 for the first time in 2 months. Fixing the economy will be Barack Obama's primary concern when he arrives in Washington for a series of important meetings next week. We get more on that from Bill Plant.
Back from vacation in Hawaii, Obama will spend the weekend packing up in Chicago. On Sunday, he moves to Washington and gets right to work.
He's got a lot of things that he wants in the hopper, ready to move January 20th. Some of them may indeed be ready for his signature at that time. So this is going to be a very fast start.
At the top of the list, a massive new economic stimulus package, which Republicans have signaled they won't wave through without debate. First thing, Obama will sit down Monday with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Leader Harry Reid, then meet separately with Republican leaders Mitch McConnell and John Boehner, hoping for a compromise on the nearly $800 billion stimulus. On Wednesday, President Bush hosts a first-of-a-kind White House lunch for President-elect Obama and Presidents Clinton, Bush 41, and Carter. A private get-together to discuss what former presidents all call the world's loneliest job.
They will have a chance to have a nice conversation and a good meal. I think that'll be a very interesting and historic lunch.
Later next week, the Senate begins hearings on Mr. Obama's cabinet selections. For their first week and a half, the Obamas will stay at the luxurious Hay Adams Hotel just across Lafayette Park from the White House. On January 15th, they'll move to Blair House, the traditional pre-inauguration quarters for the president-elect. Now, the Obamas are moving here sooner than most new first families because they want their daughters to begin school on Monday. Meanwhile, the president-elect continues to say that there can be only one president at a time. But for the next couple of weeks, it may seem as though there are two. Jeff?
All right, Bill Plant in Washington. Bill, thank you. While all that work on the economy needs to get done, the Senate is preoccupied with its own problems. Roland Burris hopes to be sworn in next week to represent Illinois, but top Democrats warn he won't be seated, saying his appointment by Governor Rod Blagojevich is tainted. The Minnesota race between incumbent Norm Coleman and Democrat Al Franken still isn't decided. The latest count shows Franken's ahead by fewer than 50 votes. And will New York's governor choose Caroline Kennedy to succeed Hillary Clinton? Several reports say yes. The governor insists he's not made up his mind yet, but this has taken a little while. And Jeff Greenfield is our senior political correspondent. He joins us. Lots of stuff going on here, Jeff. Let's start with Caroline and that debate.
Well, I have to say, given the way her rollout has gone, with some interviews to the New York papers that were characterized by a lot of ums and you-knows, it's a lucky thing for her that The Daily Show and Saturday Night Live are in original runs. I think the problem here is there may be some resentment, if she's picked, on the part of Democrats not from New York City, that yet another New York City person is going to represent the Democratic Party. This is a local problem more than a national problem for Democrats.
We talk about Rod Blagojevich and Roland Burris potentially showing up next week and then barring him at the door.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting scene. I mean, here at all this, the theme is hope and change, and the first thing the Senate's going to do is to stand in the way of the person who would be the only African-American senator on grounds that he himself had nothing to do with. And that, I think, is also going to cause some real backlash among African-Americans in Illinois, if not elsewhere. And, you know, it's early to look for 2010, but Democrats do not want to alienate black voters. That's their most loyal Democratic constituency.
Finally, the never-ending race, it seems, between Al Franken and Norm Coleman. Does this end? When does this end?
We don't know. It could go on for weeks and months. There is a danger here. If the Senate, which may have the power to do it, decides it's going to weigh in on a contested election, because if President-elect Obama is serious about a post-partisan Congress, the clearest way to ignite really passionate partisan feelings is to get into an election dispute. There's a 20-something-year-old Indiana House race that Republicans still have bad feelings about. It's the last thing in the world President-elect Obama needs going into this new election. So the Democrats in the Senate got some clouds hanging over them.
I would say so. Good luck taking that vacation with all this going on, Jeff. Thank you so much. All right, one programming note here tonight. Bob Schieffer does have an exclusive interview with Vice President Cheney this Sunday on Face the Nation. Overseas now, no let-up today in the Gaza attacks. Israel launched new airstrikes today with Army troops standing by at the border, waiting for orders to launch a ground invasion. The leader of Hamas warned Israel its troops would face a bloody battle if they invade. On the seventh day, no one rested. Hamas rockets, albeit fewer of them, continue to fly defiantly out of Gaza, blasting holes in Israeli homes. Israeli planes continued to bomb Hamas targets. As Hamas buried the firebrand cleric and suicide bomber advocate killed yesterday, the Israelis say they actually called his house first to warn his family and give them a chance to flee, but no one answered. His blood, the mourners said, will be fuel for attacks on Zionists around the world. And Gazans continue to struggle to survive both the bombs and the shortages of everything. Israel is letting aid in, but the only thing not in short supply is misery. Some are escaping Gaza's horrors. The Israelis have allowed several busloads of foreigners to leave the prison that the Strip has become. They're the foreign-born wives and children of Gazan men. And they're leaving their husbands and fathers behind to who knows what fate.
We don't sleep. We don't know how to sleep. We just stay and we're like, you know how it feels waiting for death?
It could get worse. An invasion of the Israeli armored units massed on Gaza's borders would inevitably raise the casualty stakes on both sides. There is growing international pressure for a ceasefire, but it isn't coming from Washington, where the outgoing administration is effectively giving Israel a green light to do what it has to do. But after 7 days of air war with Hamas still resistant, Israel's options may be narrowing, decision time approaching. Late today, President Bush called the Hamas rocket attacks on Israel an act of terror and said any ceasefire must include international monitors. In Iraq, one of the deadliest suicide attacks in months. At least 30 people were killed, 110 others wounded today when the bomber attacked a luncheon gathering south of Baghdad. The target, Sunni tribal leaders allied with the U.S. against al-Qaeda. Back in this country now, we're getting a better picture of the extent of the contamination from that sludge spill in Tennessee 11 days ago. The EPA said today a sample of river water contained arsenic 149 times the safe level. Lead amounts 5 times above normal and elevated levels of cadmium and chromium. But the agency said the drinking water supply is safe as metals are filtered out before water is sent to homes. Still ahead here on the CBS Evening News, we all know that dogs are man's best friend, but elephants? Steve Hartman with a most unusual buddy story. Up next, though, prescription drugs for free. Who's doing it and why? Just in time for cold and flu season, today 2 more supermarket chains began filling customers' antibiotic prescriptions for free. But that giveaway isn't just about helping you. As Kelly Wallace reports, it's about getting shoppers into stores.
A sign of the times that stunned some shoppers like 71-year-old Margie Holmes.
This day and time, is it possible to do that?
You don't believe it's true?
It's hard to believe that it would be free.
Starting today, Stop and Shop Supermarkets of New England and its sister chain, Giant, based in Maryland, will offer free antibiotics through March 21st to customers with valid prescriptions. They're following the lead of other supermarkets like Meijer in the Midwest, Publix in Florida, and United in Texas. They say to take care of customers in tough times.
Isn't this in part a way to get an edge with your competitors?
Absolutely. You want to be different. You need a differentiator.
At a time when Walmart is stealing market share away from supermarkets nationwide, the discounter recorded the biggest boost in grocery sales in its history in November. And once it started offering hundreds of generic prescription drugs at just $4 in 2006, competition in the pharmacy business, which makes up about 1/10 of a supermarket chain's revenue, intensified.
It's war in the stores. So the winner will be the one that does the most for consumers.
It's also about making sure old and new customers keep coming through these doors despite fears about the economy. A recent survey found more than 1 in 4 Americans didn't fill a prescription to save money.
You didn't pay for the germs. Why pay for the antibiotics?
Stop and Shop's trying to spread the word with television ads.
Free is good.
And the chain has decided it's also good for business. Kelly Wallace, CBS News, Port Washington, New York.
In other news tonight, AirTran said today it was a, quote, misunderstanding that led to 9 Muslim passengers being kicked off a flight. That group was heading yesterday from Washington, D.C. to Orlando, Florida. They were taken off after other passengers heard them discussing the best place to sit on a plane if something went wrong. One of the 9 said the conversation was misinterpreted.
We're not going to stand there in the airplane and say, oh, bomb this, terrorist that, threat this. We're smarter than that. We don't do those kinds of things. We know better than that.
That group was later cleared by FBI agents, but AirTran wouldn't let them reboard. Most eventually got to Florida on a different carrier, and AirTran apologized to them today. Now to a mission that's lasted a lot longer than expected. NASA's Mars rovers, Spirit and Opportunity, were only supposed to last 3 months. But as of this month, they've been roaming the red planet now for 5 years. Together, they've snapped more than 250,000 photos and analyzed rock and soil samples. Their work helps scientists conclude Mars once had water, which means it could have sustained life. One year ago today, crude oil at $100 a barrel for the very first time. It was the start of a surge that would peak above $145 in July before dropping to as low as $33 in December. Since then, prices today have risen to above $46 a barrel, fueled in part by OPEC output cuts and new Middle East violence. Over the years, booming oil prices helped turn Dubai into a land of opportunity and playground for the ultra-rich. But that was then. As Sheila McVicker reports tonight, even Dubai is feeling the pinch of the worldwide economic crisis.
In this Gulf City state where property prices went up as high and as fast as the buildings, reality has rudely and suddenly intruded. As one investor told me, it was as if someone had thrown a switch as a global credit crunch hit the world's biggest construction site. It took Dubai just 20 years to go from this to this, where 1/5 of the world's cranes operate, where property became a commodity, with some people playing real estate the way others play poker.
People are buying and flipping properties on a launch basis. You launch a property and you flip it within the same day.
Before an apartment was even built, you could walk away with tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Developers promised pay $140,000 for an unbuilt apartment and within 6 months reap a $46,000 profit. So as fast as the city expanded, investors snapped it up and took on big debt. American entrepreneur Mahmoud Panjwani understands the risk of building a business.
I really did not know what risk was until I came here. I mean, Dubai is like Silicon Valley on steroids from a risk perspective.
The risky business of buying real estate with little money down and a lot owing. That works as long as the market goes up. He saw trouble coming and got his cash out.
There's a lot of fear as well.
Fear in what sense?
Fear of the unknown. How long can it go down? How long will this stay down?
How low? Take the world's tallest building still under construction. In the last month, prices dropped at least 50%. House prices on the man-made Palm down 40%. A 7-bedroom villa, $10 million last year, under $6 million now. Banks aren't lending, projects are shelved. The normally secretive government has had to acknowledge it has one of the highest levels of per capita debt in the world and not enough oil to pay for it.
I think the worst is still yet to come. In the sense of people not losing properties, that will happen.
It will come back, they say, perhaps minus the speculators and the insane price increases. So while the fizz might be gone, they insist the water still sparkles. Sheila McVicker, CBS News, Dubai.
It's a mystery in Miami tonight. Police say there was no sign of a crash, but used shoes, thousands of them, littered both lanes of a major expressway this morning, tying up traffic for hours. No one has stepped forward to claim the shoes or foot the bill for the cleanup, which took 2 hours. Next up, Assignment America. Felix and Oscar have nothing on this odd couple. Finally tonight, Steve Hartman proves that best friends come in all shapes and sizes. Here is tonight's Assignment America.
When elephants retire, a good look world. If they can do it, what's our excuse?
People at the sanctuary say that over the years, Bella has become very protective of Tara. Protective of what? No one's really quite sure.
That was pretty amazing, Steve. Yeah. Well done. What's coming up next week?
Okay, next week's a little something different. We're going to look at the economy, talking to perhaps some of the poorest prognosticators of all time. What were these authors thinking? That story next Friday night.
Including a visit to my hometown, Buffalo.
That's right.
Should be very nice. Steve Hartman, thank you very much. That is the CBS Evening News tonight. I'm Jeff Glor. Katie's back on Monday. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Good night.